In a shocking story that could change the course of the war if the mainstream media chooses to cover it, Syrian rebels have admitted to an AP journalist that they were responsible for last week's chemical weapons incident. They revealed that the casualties were the result of an accident caused by rebels mishandling chemical weapons provided to them by Saudi Arabia. One militant told the AP, "We were very curious about these arms, and unfortunately, some of the fighters handled the weapons improperly and set off the explosions." Imagine if a member of the Syrian government had admitted to an AP reporter that Assad was behind the chemical weapons attack. It would be all over the news instantly. Yet instead, they are obsessing over a Facebook post by Assad's 11-year-old son, while this bombshell story is ignored. More than a dozen rebels interviewed reported that their salaries came from the Saudi government. Many believe that certain rebels received chemical weapons via the Saudi intelligence chief, Prince Bandar bin Sultan. Saudi Arabia's alleged role in providing the rebels with chemical weapons is no surprise given the revelations earlier this week that the Saudis threatened Russia with terror attacks at next year's Winter Olympics unless they abandoned support for the Syrian president. So why is Saudi Arabia so keen to destabilize Syria? Well, it could all come down to a war of pipelines. According to estimates, Syria's oil reserves are greater than all those of neighboring countries except Iraq, making Syria one of the largest producers of crude oil in the Middle East. In spite of the fact that it has now been confirmed by most media sources that the Syrian opposition is actually al-Qaeda, the Western powers are still pushing to arm the rebels in order that they can gain control of key territories along the pipeline. The U.S.-NATO strategy focuses on helping the rebels to seize oil fields, to stop the supply of petroleum products, and to break up Syria's role as the main crossroad for alternative energy. One of the reasons why NATO and the Gulf Cooperation Council are using al-Qaeda terrorists to break up the Shiite-led alliance of Iran, Iraq, Syria, and Hezbollah is because the construction of a so-called friendship pipeline will transport Iranian natural gas through Syria and from there to foreign markets, turning Iran into a global economic power, giving it enormous leverage over the EU's Middle East policy. This is, of course, unsettling news to the Saudis, who dominate oil exportation in the European markets alongside Russia. But who is Russia allied with? That's right, Iran and Syria. Now, the key point here is that up until now, the proxy war with Syria has not yet led to a hot war with Russia. While the debate has been framed as to whether or not Assad used chemical weapons, the New World Order's true geopolitical objectives in targeting Syria have been ignored.
By that time, we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, "I just got this down from upstairs," meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran."
So when the Saudi intelligence chief meets with Russian President Putin to hint at a possible terrorist attack if Russia doesn't abandon support for Syria, it actually seems like a last-minute desperate power grab by the U.S., NATO, and GCC to maintain their reign of global economic dominance by shutting down those countries who refuse to submit to the New World Order. Reporting for the INFOWARS Nightly News, I'm McAdoo.